Extreme Anime Radio.
Okay, let's try this again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Extreme Anime Radio podcast for January the 29th, 2025. It's been one heck of a week here in XAR land with this computer, which I want to, put on a timeout, I feel. Welcome, everybody. JR here, joined by Mr. Nef Canuck, who apparently is still a Buffalo Bills fan.
Yeah, we go down with the ship. Unfortunately, we went down a little sketchy last Sunday. I'll put it that way.
Yes. Well, good evening to you, sir, and thank you as always for now you're putting up with my shenanigans and what I've been going through on this within the last week.
Well, as I like to say, computers, when they work, it's great. When they don't, you want to tear out your hair.
Yes.
For those of you who can't see this broadcast, I'm pointing to a rather, hairless skull, that being mine.
So we welcome you, and now you can see my room in all of its glory, sort of. So I have a few explanations beyond as in that regard. So we will do the best we can here. Remember that you can watch us. If you feel like watching us and you feel like watching what's going on behind me, which is absolutely nothing, hopefully, you can go to Twitch at twitch.tv/Extreme Anime Radio or look up the Extreme Anime Radio podcast on YouTube. And if you would like to listen to us on the go and not have to worry about what you see, then just go to, it froze up again. I guess we'll have to deal with that too. You can go to Spotify for podcasters, Spotify, Extreme Anime Radio Podcast, xarpodcast.net. So yes, I've been kind of frustrated in the last hour trying to work out this green screen script thing, because now it looks like I'm going to have to get a green screen like Nef has.
Well, don't forget, even if you have the physical green screen, you'll still need some software to key out, otherwise all you're going to see is a green screen behind you.
Right. The OBS, the streaming software can do that with its own native plugins.
Aha.
Nef is still robotish?
Huh? I'm on a different mic. I'm not even connected to the mixer board anymore. I'm like literally USB. So
oh, boy.
I don't know what to do.
Okay. Well then we're going to stop and I'm going to go back and check. Maybe it's just me. Well, if anybody else can give us a little bit of a heads up here, we would appreciate it. So Nef, why don't you then talk about your weekend and how you feel about the Bills?
Well, as I was saying, now the funny part was I had intended to be home for both games in their entirety.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I had a Anime North meeting. Now, normally that wouldn't be a problem because I actually did leave fairly early. But then I looked down at the energy remaining in my battery pack and went, No, I do not be pushing the car to work on Monday morning
Mm-mm.
because I was down pretty low. So I end up going to a charger, plugging
Mm-hmm.
in, and for the first half or so of Philadelphia, Washington, I'm listening over Sirius XM in the car.
Mm.
Now, unfortunately, I had to use, Mr. Elon Musk's charger, as there was not near another charger where I didn't have to, give him money. But I must admit, the adapter I have now that has been replaced, because the first one was actually recalled for defects. I found the defect. The
Mm.
recalled version works absolutely perfectly. Slam it
Mm.
into the car, slam the Tesla adapter, the cable into the adapter, and basically the car says, "Okay," slurp, and takes energy, which is quite convenient.
Mm. You're a little low, so maybe we can fix that. I have a little equalizer setting that I can bring up a little bit.
I was gonna say
So
I can't play with the gain on this thing, folks. Otherwise, I will just crackle, crackle, crackle.
yeah, so I'm going to bring up a few things over here in the software that I have to see if that does any difference here. I
Because
also
I know
have it. I also have it limited on the audio going out generally so that it doesn't pop or stuff. Try talking again.
All right. Well, we're still talking. We're still here, and I'm watching the third window, the local hockey team playing against the Minnesota Mild, and I'm not happy.
Uh-oh.
Nope. Nope. When you're losing, to the Minnesota Mild and the way they are playing, it's like you're about to get booed off the ice if you don't get smart up.
Why do you call them the mild?
Well, of course, their real name is the Minnesota Wild.
Right.
And of course, they play so that they maybe make the playoffs and then get completely blown out in the first round, somewhat like the local team. But, it earned them the nickname the Minnesota Mild.
I gotcha.
Now, of course, their second string goaltender, Marc-Andre Fleury, has announced that this is probably his last year. Fleury has played over 20 years of NHL hockey as a goaltender.
Right.
And he looks better. He looks almost better than he did when he started way back in Pittsburgh 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Which I find absolutely frightening because I do not look better than I did 20 years ago. I got news for you.
You look just fine.
I like to say upright and breathing. Everything else is the bonus. Everything else.
So yes, let me go over some of the things that have been going on with this computer. First of all, the audio capture from Nef, which I hope is fixed to an extent now, because through our streaming software, we take the voice from Nef, which goes through Discord, and it goes through, it went through an audio application capture, and that was apparently glitching out to the point where Nef and everybody else who was talking besides me was getting a little choppy. And now my webcam is starting to feel the same way too. So, anyway, so one solution to that is to install some software that creates like a virtual patch cable. So instead of the audio going through this little script, it goes through the patch cable, and the mic and Nef's voice and everybody else's voice. And if we play a game, the game's audio all go through one pipe. So far, aside from what Liz mentioned a moment ago, it doesn't seem like that's causing too many issues. So that was the first problem. Now we go to the second problem, and that was why was my Wi-Fi cutting out randomly? It happened, I want to say it happened last week in the middle of when we were doing this. And then we tried to reinstall, uninstall a lot of things. Turns out that the script that keys myself out without a green screen decided to bork. And that script, like the application capture script I mentioned before, are both quote unquote beta. So the beta script, this one borked and was cutting off my Wi-Fi. And then I had to go back and, back to the drawing board for that. uninstall all the sources in my streaming software to see what is the culprit. Same thing that you would do when you follow along, with a computer issue. What goes wrong? So you have to go one at a time. So I uninstalled my web camera as a source. Came back just fine. When I added it again, and when I say it came back fine, the Wi-Fi came back fine. So it was when I added that background removal script that the Wi-Fi went down again. So I uninstalled that. And now, about an hour to air tonight, I'm trying to work with the other background removal plugin that's highly recommended. And it doesn't work with my web camera / computer setup, which I'm not going to go into that any further because, we're getting past the start time of our show here. So,
well, just so you know, I commiserate with your computer problems because my personal laptop, which I use for work meetings because the work laptops are trash, was complaining at me that it was stuck on Windows 11 version 22H2. So I try to update it. It will not update. I ran through every possible method to reset and restore the system update utilities, and nothing was working. And then I went with the nuclear option, which is going to Microsoft directly and getting the update. Now, the thing was, the only update they're offering is 24H2, so skipping 23. And in theory, my laptop is not yet certified for 24H2.
I see.
When I say certified, this is a business class laptop. So I'm literally running a version of Windows that could at any moment literally melt down this laptop and leave me going, help. What do I do now? And they're going to go at Lenovo, why did you put that version of Windows on the machine? Because it was the only version I could get my hands on legally. Thank you very freaking much.
The 23H2 is still technically going to be valid for a few more years, right?
I think actually, I think they're going to try and phase you to 24H2 at some point. It's not as dire though as 22H2, and they're saying no, you've got to go to 23H2. But like I said, I couldn't, so I just literally skipped it and went to 24H2 with this thing. And like I said, I'm hoping that it doesn't cause me problems down the road because again, I use this for mostly work and a little bit of light gaming on the side.
So now let me ask you, because I feel like this has been the most frustrating week for me regarding looking into computer software or hardware stuff. What's been your biggest computer failure, if one can come to mind right away?
Most of them, my biggest ones, usually are PEBCAC errors. Problem exists between chair and keyboard. Or ID10T errors, i.e. idiot errors, me.
Right.
My favorite was breaking my own rule about doing late night computer work. And at 11:30 at night, I still remember this because I remember the time, 11:30 at night, I accidentally formatted my C drive. You could hear the screams out the window. I was not happy because by the time I realized what had happened, it was too late. There was no backing out. Now, I did have a backup, but that backup back in the day took around 4 hours, I want to say, to reinstall everything where I had it. So that was not a pleasant sight. And problem was I needed the computer that day. So I had to start very early in the morning too. So crash at 12 o'clock in frustration, get up at 6 a.m. to get this stupid computer ready for about 11. And I was pushing it at that point, but I just barely made it. Ugh.
No. Yeah, so hopefully for the rest of tonight, my web camera freezing up every so often is the only issue. But yes, I need to look into why that's happening. And then eventually, I don't know when it's going to happen, but green screen is going to have to go into the budget. I spoke to Mika about it the other day, and Mika suggested I get one maybe that could attach to my chair. But the problem is then it kind of moves with the chair.
I was going to say that was the first thing that come to mind. Like you move in the chair. No.
Yeah. Liz has a pop-up green screen. That's what I was sort of looking at. I need to see if I have room for that. I mean, in the short term, once again, I just deal with this, and I'll just tidy up my my living space over here. You can see I sort of tried to make everything look presentable. I have Anya here to my left. I have Sailor Mercury to my right, and behind me, Nef, a stack of the CDs we used to use on Extreme Anime Radio back in the day.
Oh yeah, if you could see behind me, you'd see a lot of those sort of things. That's why I have a green screen and the key out. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We move on here a little bit. We have Ace Attorney to get to later on tonight, and boy, Nef, we played Ace Attorney yesterday on Twitch, and that has taken the darkest turn out of all the Ace Attorneys I think we've played.
I was going to say, not to spoil or anything for those of you who are tuning in later tonight, but let's just say when you rejoin us, wow.
So Athena is in a little bit of a dark spot, and it's Phoenix Wright to the rescue. Dark as my coffee, Liz says.
Dark as a black hole, says I. And sucks just about as much.
Yeah. But yes, we hope you'll join us for that, and hopefully we won't have any other issues like we've been having lately. I think yesterday went okay, all things considering, because we didn't get any major complaints. So we look forward to that. And then hopefully this weekend, Nef, big occasion this weekend. Well, two big occasions this weekend. Sunday is Karam's birthday, and the day before that is something else's birthday. I can't say somebody else's, it's something else's, if that makes any sense.
No, you're quite accurate. It's rather frightening when you think about it, the number of years that something is turning.
24. Extreme Anime Radio was created February 1st, 2001. So that is 24 years ago this Saturday. And our plan is to celebrate with a little bit of Mario Kart so we can all have some fun.
Yes, well, and it's going to be interesting now that the new Switch has been announced, and one of the games, now I'm not sure if it's a pack-in game or not, I'm not quite sure, Mario Kart 9. Number 9?
Exactly.
Number 9?
Nef took the Abbey Road route, folks. So
I'm not old enough for Abbey Road. Barely, though.
Well, anyway, yes, Mario Kart 9, everybody's talking a lot about it and decoding frame by frame the whole Switch trailer, which showed like a few seconds of the Mario Kart 9 happening. So quite interesting to see how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, and you think about it, I'm going, okay, because I'm also looking at the possible pricing of this thing, and I'm going, they might be running into territory that's getting close to, like, ick.
Mm-hmm. You think it's going to be pricey?
Well, think about it this way. What does a current generation Switch run for?
Oh, boy. Is it $299 or something? I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, okay, I can tell you up here, it's about $4.25.
Okay, so then it might be $399 US.
Yeah. It would not surprise me to see at least another $100 bump.
Mm-hmm.
If not $150. Because if this machine is supposed to be doing what it says it can do, that's not going to be cheap to do.
Right.
And still make a profit. Now, they said most of the old Nintendo Switch software will work on the new Switch 2, for lack of a better word. But my concern is twofold. What software will not work? And what about the purchase software that you will have on your Nintendo Switch? So you're telling us that basically all that purchase software you're not going to be able to transfer over?
Right.
Heck.
Yeah, good. The tariffs could also come into play, at least for us. Yes. So Liz said 250. So I just looked it up here. It's 250 refurbished and 299 brand new here in the U.S. So yes, the Nef's prediction is that yes, with everything going on, it'll probably go up in price.
Yeah, I can't see it because every console generation has gone up in price, right?
Mhm.
And now we have, of course, the Orange Menace, his, things
Yeah.
he's doing and threatening to do, and
And if you look at the things he's also undoing.
yeah, watching some of that, I'm just going, yeah, no,
Mhm.
no, we don't want that here. Now, surprise, surprise. The Ontario Premier decided, you know what? I'm going to try and get ahead of this crap fest. And the Ontario government has called an election for February 27th. Now, mind you, this is a full year before he has to, a year and a half actually, before he has
Right.
to. And it's all, cynical opportunism to say, okay, I want to make sure that I get reelected, get a, hopefully majority for the next 5 years while things, boil over, down south.
Mhm.
Never mind what happens in Ottawa.
Right. So, and we mentioned last week when we tried to do the podcast around into the issues that there's an idea floating around that maybe the American liquor should be pulled from the LCBOs.
Well, I'll be curious to see how all that's going to play out now in an election cycle because,
Mhm.
If he tries to wrap himself in the Canadian flag, I'm sorry, he's done enough that if people have, memories longer than goldfish, they'll be able to say, hypocrite, liar, pants on fire.
Mhm.
A cheap hat doesn't undo all that he's already done.
Right.
I don't even know if that hat is made in Canada, to be quite honest. That hat might as well be made in China for all I know.
Well, let's go over across the pond and go to Japan, where the news every so often sumo makes big news all around the world, and that is when somebody gets. What did I say? I think my Amazon went off again.
Oh, it heard what it thinks was the magic word.
Yes.
I have that occasionally, but that's because I changed mine to a different word than the default Alexa.
Yeah. Hey, even if you say something similar, sometimes it triggers. But anyway, somebody in professional sumo has achieved the supreme rank of Yokozuna, which is the highest rank of them all. And that is a Mongolian wrestler by the name of Hoshoryu. Someone that Bree and I are a big fan of. He has the nickname Golden Boy on the online circles. And he ensures that the sport still has a Yokozuna because in the January tournament that was recently concluded, another Yokozuna retired because he was having a lot of health issues with his knees and stuff. And the most important thing about Yokozuna is that once you're at Yokozuna, you're expected to consistently, compete for the championship and do well. If you don't, there's no demotion. You're just expected to retire. So a big, heavy burden now falls on Hoshoryu to continue that as the 74th Yokozuna since they've started keeping records. Formerly in Ozeki, which is the rank below Yokozuna for, I believe, a year and a half or so. And a promotion is quite stingent to get to Ozeki and then again to get to Yokozuna. So Hoshoryu, as an Ozeki, was the runner-up in the last tournament. And then in this tournament, even though he lost 3 times, he tied with 2 other wrestlers and went into a 3-way playoff, which in Japanese I think is called a Tomoe-sen 3-way playoff. So in the 3-way playoff, you draw lots, and then you have to beat two wrestlers in succession in order to win. If you beat two wrestlers in a row, then you're the winner. And that's exactly what Hoshoryu did. He drew first, he beat Kimbozan, and then he beat Oho. So technically speaking, on the last day, he won 3 matches. And I think that was more than enough to get the promotion done.
It's always fun when you get to that stage where it's like, okay, it's a playoff and it's like sudden death, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite an interesting method of dealing with such a situation where there's a tie.
Yeah. So obviously, if it was a 2-way tie, then it's just you two against each other and one shot deal. But then they go into a 3-way playoff. A 4-way playoff, I don't think has ever happened.
And that would be rather complicated. Well, no, you could just do first draw, 2 matches, or would it be 3 in that case?
I don't know how they would do it, whether it be you have to still be 2 wrestlers, or you have to be 3 wrestlers, or they put you into like a bracket or something.
Or they put you in a steel cage and say, have at it.
Oh, geez. But no, Hoshoryu was officially promoted yesterday in Japan, which would have been Wednesday morning Japan time. And there's a big press conference at his stable where 2 representatives of the Sumo Association come in and say, congratulations, you've been promoted. And then Hoshoryu gives his acceptance speech. I will do my best to uphold the dignity of the rank so it's not to tarnish it. And then your usual press conference, and, they drink a beer, and Hoshoryu holds up a big trout or something. He held up a big fish. I don't know if it was a trout, but yes, that's a symbol of his ascension to the highest rank of the sport. So in Japan, besides interest rates, I think that's the most important thing at the moment. Good for Hoshoryu and good for the sport of sumo.
Well, it's very entertaining, but I'm just thinking about this. I'm going, okay, a fish. I'm going to get to the top of the mountain. First thing I'm going to do is hold up a fish.
A huge fish at that, too.
Yeah, I mean, of course, when people win major championships over here, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is I'm going to, because, of course, they get sponsored by that place.
Right.
Without names, they don't sponsor us.
Right. So, let's see. Fish. Liz gave us a fish emote.
Oh dear.
You remember that MIRC command? JR goes around slapping everybody with a big trout.
I will admit to having abused that command more than once in my day.
Good old days of MIRC. I don't think is that still a thing anymore?
It might be, but probably only a hobbyist basis now. With everything else that's replaced it, or gotten more things that.
Right. So now that we've finished watching sumo, Bree and I will be going hopefully into watching some more things, catching up on anime like Kenshin. What is in your department that you're keeping an eye on right now?
Well, actually, they actually showed 2 episodes at once, which is really interesting. Headhunted in Another World by the Demon Lord. So I got another couple of episodes of that. It was so good that I actually went and bought the manga for it. All 7 volumes that are available on Amazon. Said, okay, fine, deliver it to my iPad, and I'll read them, as I get my chance to do that. And I've started. I'm like going, yeah, this is good material. I'm glad I bought this. And I apologize. Apparently, if I move my hands or move my body in a certain way,
I saw that.
My camera decides, okay, I'm doing something. I'm like, what?
You drinking or moving your hand, right?
I think it's violent motion. It's like if it's a violent motion, then the camera thinks, okay, I got to do something else.
Oh boy. So let's see here. We have sumo. We have anime. We're talking about green screens. A lot going on. Some of the stacks of CDs behind me are the old Sailor Moon background tracks, which are the very first ones I started with when I created the The precursor to my involvement in XAR was to create a live 365 station, which Kay also did because initially his was on live 365. And mine was called Silver Millennium Radio. Have I ever told you about Silver Millennium Radio?
I might have actually listened to that maybe way back when.
Yes.
I mean, that is a long time ago now, and I do remember, searching out that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Because back then it was like, very expensive to get your hands on the music, and it was like, okay, I can listen to it, maybe pay a subscription fee, but not as much as I would pay buy all these CDs, especially, up here in, the Great White North.
Yeah. And that was back in an era also where, you were sort of encouraged to go into this little medium with your, little DSL modem and stuff.
Yes, DSL modems.
So.
Oh, the days.
Yep. But, that reminds me of those discs about the new Sailor Moon musical. This is something else I pointed out when we tried to do the podcast last week. If it wasn't for Japan trip preparations, I would probably be considering going to the North American tour, which is stopping in a limited number of cities. New York included, but also I know there's a lot of places around the Northeast, also in Texas, there are going to be a lot of them, Chicago, and a few other places as well.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, there are no Canadian dates, at least not announced yet.
Right.
So it's like, I have to hop the border.
So I think if it wasn't for the trip, I would definitely be looking into that. The last time they did the Sailor Moon show, the musical here in New York in the last few years, they all sold out. So I'm sure these are all going to be hot tickets as well.
Interesting. Probably a hotter ticket than the local hockey team.
Yeah. Which local hockey team for me?
That would be the New York Rangers.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, the Rags is the less than fans call them, have not been playing well, although they have been getting better recently.
Mm-hmm.
They're still dead, but they're not quite as dead. That's what I like to call that.
The Sailor Moon, hotter ticket than a chili cook-off.
Don't say the word chili.
Yeah. Speaking of cook-off, yes. Well, it reminds me of the big game for some reason. Tailgating your favorite sport. Let's look ahead 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks from now. The big game, Kansas City, Philadelphia, two very strong teams. For reasons, I'm going to be rooting for Philadelphia all the way, as I'm sure a lot of people will be doing. I'm hearing the jokes already now about Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Why does he wear the number 15? Because if you mess with him, that's how many yards you get penalized.
Yeah, and I've already seen the memes, of the other Kansas City Chiefs, aka the referees in, red stripes with a KC logo on their chest. Whoops.
Or it could be the AFC referees, because didn't they wear red stripes?
No, everybody wears the same zebra.
I'm talking back in the day.
Okay, well that's before my time.
Back in the day, yes. I think the AFC, their referees eventually went to red stripes before they were standardized when everybody got together. So.
Well, as for me, it will be the Eagles, even though, I could give a toss, but it's like, no, Kermit and his Muppets are not getting a third Lombardi in a row. I don't care what it takes.
Yeah.
What I want to see is Saquon Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles run through the Kansas City defense. We're talking 3 touchdowns here, and I want Andy Reid looking like this. Because he doesn't know what to do about, Mr. Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley has had an amazing year.
And the running joke is, every time somebody brings that up, a Giants fan dies a little more inside.
Oh.
because they let him walk, signed Danny Dimes as
Yeah.
their franchise QB, eventually released Danny Dimes.
Mm.
And still have to pay him, mind you.
Yeah.
And oops, there we go again. And now the problem is that, of course, you have to pay Danny Dimes. It's dead cap money, which means, you're going to have a big problem at some point, probably next year, signing anybody of any consequence. So I don't know how the coach is going to survive. I mean, I think the general manager got fried. I think the coach is next.
Right.
That's my guess.
Right.
Meanwhile, the other team in New Jersey, blew out all their, head office personnel.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we don't know who their number one QB is going to be. He might go on a darkness retreat. He might never come back. The way he played this year, I don't think fans want him back. He can stay in his darkness retreat. Thank you very much.
Right. Looking over here, some more news. I saw one of my favorite bullet trains got retired.
Oh, and speaking of retired, Comey can't communicate. Final chapter is next week, apparently.
Oh, the manga?
Yeah. So it'll have finally hit, I believe, 500 chapters.
Oh, boy.
Which is kind of frightening when you think about it. 500 chapters is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem with it is they only ever got 2 seasons of an anime out of it, and there's so much material that I don't know. Mm-hmm. They could do more if they wanted to, but...
Right. So... that was very interesting. Is there any word on the next season coming out soon?
Nothing so far. I mean, remember that the Netflix was the ones who bankrolled it, right?
Right.
They've already moved on to the next shiny thing, which for them is Sakamoto Days. Which, again, I encourage it, except it is TVMA for a reason. There is blood. There is guts. Although the funny thing is, and I say this, with all true sincerity and slight spoilery, Sakamoto himself is not responsible for any deaths. There's a specific reason, but you have to watch to find out why.
Interesting. Well, you talk about that. I'm trying to see if I can do something here with my camera real quick. So,
okay.
Let's tick this and see if that makes any difference, because it seems like my face is freezing in a contorted shape every few minutes.
Well, that could be a couple things. Now, your camera is what, 1080p?
I believe at the least it's 1080p, yeah.
Okay, and how many frames per second?
Either 30 or 60. I can't see right now the ring because the light's getting in the way.
Well, no, I'm just curious because I would think that even a 60 frame per second camera at 1080p with the machine you have, it should be able to ingest all that, and not even make a sweat.
Right. So,
but
well, we'll talk for a few more minutes, and I'll keep an eye on my ugly face and see if anything changed. I froze again. Okay.
Oh, you went.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that will be, I think first priority for me then is to how to unfreeze myself on the video, and then the second will be to see about getting a green screen.
Well, I will ask you one question, and this might answer your question. How is your camera connected to the computer?
USB.
USB A or C?
A, I believe it's A.
Yikes, that might explain it.
Okay.
Because if you have a lot of things on the same USB bus, which most of the time USB A, there's a bunch of ports all going to one bus.
Oh yeah.
If you have a bunch of stuff connected to that same bus, something's going to give.
Right.
And in your case, it might be the camera.
Well, I have a lot of stuff plugged in the back. So let's see. Webcam, keyboard, mouse, the microphone. And then I have the light plugged in on the top. So Maybe I change the webcam over to the top plug.
I was going to say try playing around with where the camera's plugged in,
Mm-hmm.
because I almost want to say that if you've plugged it in at the same, like I said, the same bus, that might be your problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
See, like my camera's a USB-C, so it has enough bandwidth that basically, short of me trying to set this thing up 4K and 60 frames per second, I won't have a problem. I would never do it because, frankly, I'm ugly enough at 1080p. I don't need to be seen at 4K. Thank you very much.
I do need to see if there's a USB-C plug for this. If not, that will be part of the budget, or quite possibly it could be something that I could pick up duty free several thousand miles away.
Oh yes, the duty. Yeah. The duty free shop.
Will it be something that will be compatible with my PC, though? That's the question.
Well, I would think, at least as far as PC components go, that it's basically all the same. You just have to be able to read Japanese because you won't get the English instructions.
Which hopefully I won't have too much trouble with. So
I was gonna say you wouldn't have trouble with it. Me, on the other hand, Google Translate and pray. That's all I'd be able to do.
But anyway, I was talking about Dr. Yellow. So Dr. Yellow is one of the two maintenance bullet trains which runs along the major route Tokyo to Kyoto and Osaka. So the Dr. Yellow train that runs in that section has officially been retired. What they do is that they make unscheduled and unannounced runs. Move yourself back in, Nef. They make unannounced runs to check the overhead wires, check the tracks and everything, just to make sure that everything's up to snuff and everything is safe for passenger travel. If they find an issue, then they relay it so that when the bullet train shuts down overnight, they can go out and do the repairs right away. But now those trains are, over 20 years old, so they've been retired. And now they're just going to hook up some detection equipment on existing passenger trains and check them that way. And then they'll tell them what needs to be fixed, where it needs to be overhead wires or ballast under the tracks, or maybe there's a minor defect in one of the rails. But there's a saying in Japan that if you saw Dr. Yellow, kind of like a fortune cookie, you would get good luck. Because once again, these trains run whenever they please. No announced timetable to their runs. So I want to say that I've seen it once in my 5 times in Japan. And I can't remember. It wasn't on the last trip with Bree. It had to have been one of the previous trips. But but still, the fact of the matter is we will be back on a bullet train when we go back to Japan soon.
Well, it sounds like you already have things planned out.
Almost. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, which reminds me, speaking of planning, Anime North, Canada's largest fan-run anime convention, had our first meeting this past Sunday.
Ooh, good.
So that means the clock is ticking. And my blood pressure is rising at about the same rate.
Well, really quick, is there anything you can sneak to us about that? Any news?
Unfortunately, I don't really have much in the way of new news. I mean, from what I know so far, we're going to be keeping the same basic setup we had last year, which was, having the displays out in basically the entranceways as you come in, so you can't miss us.
Right.
And then we'll have the auction in a ballroom in the wing of the Toronto Congress Center. All proceeds, of course, go to benefit Toronto's Hospital for Sick Kids. As I like to say, come early, bid often, and no cash, please. We take plastic.
So, we have to figure out something to maybe do for the charity auction. Now, has Canada Post fixed their issues? As
far as I know, Canada Post is back on track.
Okay, good.
I say that knowing that the some of the Canada Post executives, as a result of the strike, have been fed their walking papers.
Oh.
Because, yeah, there was some dissension among the executive about how the strike was handled, So, yeah. But, excuse me, yes, I think we're okay there. As I say, the only thing I'm more concerned about now is I'm awaiting a package that was supposed to arrive on the 28th. Hasn't arrived yet. Now I have to call Ford.
If you call for what, you cut out.
No, I have to call Ford Canada.
Oh.
Yeah. See, Ford Corporate USA, they tend to be a little more, attentive to things like this, the issue I'm going to have.
Right.
And Ford of Canada kind of goes in both official languages. So I'm not looking forward to this conversation I'm going to have on my day off.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, but that means then, aside from that, we can probably get something to you to help sick kids come the end of May.
Well, thank you very much. If you can manage that, that's very much appreciated because, like I said, it all goes to the kids. Former sick kids myself many, many years ago. Every little bit helps.
Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for putting up with our stuff tonight. Although if you were listening to us, I don't think you ran into much of an issue, hopefully. If you're watching us, you see how JR's face, goes haywire every few minutes. But that is something we will work on prior to the next podcast. I want to remind everybody, well, before we do the reminder, we'll just do go to the closing commentary here.
Okay, if you have any questions, concerns, complaints about this podcast or any of our Twitch streams, drop us a line. Hit us up at extremeanimeradio@gmail.com or follow us on social media. Go to linktree.com/anime radio. There you'll find links to our Blue Sky account, our Facebook page, our Instagram accounts, both for Extreme Anime Radio at Anime Radio, and our mascots, our mascots, and our Twitch channel, as well as our YouTube channel at Extreme Anime Radio. And archive versions of this podcast are available at xarpodcast.net. That's xarpodcast.net or your favorite podcasting platform.
Okay, so as I was saying, we're going to continue Ace Attorney for about an hour here coming up. And then the next stream's going to be Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will do Mario Kart to celebrate XAR's 24th birthday. We may also do a stream Sunday night, but that has not been officially determined yet. We'll figure that out in a few days. But yes, hopefully we've gotten through most of the issues, and we do apologize that these issues happen, and we, of course, appreciate you guys sticking with us and being patient as I navigate these choppy waters, if you will.
Well, you're navigating them quite well. I mean, it's not like this is the SS Minnow or anything.
Oh, boy. There's only an hour, not 3 hours, Nef.
Yeah, I was going to say a 3-hour tour, but the result, would be bad.
Well, on that happy note, for Nef, I'm JR. Thanks for watching and listening, and we will see you next time. In the meantime, remember,
keep on looking out for the Extreme Mario Twitch streams, and don't forget, archive versions of this podcast are available at xarpodcast.net. That's xarpodcast.net or your favorite podcasting platform. Good night, everybody. Skipper!
See you next time. Good night. I did that on purpose. Okay.